to my classroom. In this chemical process calculation course, in this model, particularly in vapor liquid equilibria, we have been discussing about two-phase system, single-phase system or three-phase system. Particularly if you look at two-phase system, that is when you have liquid gas system. For example, if you consider a system of gas and vapor system, so that particular system is widely encountered in chemical industries as well as in refrigeration system. Okay, that is particularly air conditioning system, because we know that the atmospheric conditions, there is a comfort is needed when you are confined into a room. It is not possible to control the temperature of the universe, right? But however, if you are in a closed room, it is possible to have a comfort temperature. For example, people may feel comfortable between 22 to 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that way we can have a temperature range, and particularly humidity also can be within a desired range. So if you that range is called comfort zone. So particularly what we are trying to do is, if you consider a gas vapor system like dry air and moisture, water vapor in it, that is, we can call it as moist air. So if you particularly look at moist air system, the study of moist air is a very interesting area. This is a field of engineering. If you are concerned about the physical and thermodynamic properties of gas vapor system like moist air, so that study, the field of study is called as psychrometry. Okay, so you can see that psychrometry is the field of engineering which is concerned about the physical and thermodynamic properties of a gas vapor system. Okay, so when you are talking about the gas vapor system, vapor is of a pure liquid, so we can simply say a pure liquid inert gas system. That gas is not condensable in this liquid. Such system is we are talking about. Okay, so if you look at this gas, inert gas and pure liquid system, what happens? The mass transfer is taking place as well as heat transfer is also taking place. If you look at most of the processes, particularly if you compare with distillation and gas absorption, in those cases the mass transfer is taking place in the gas phase as well as in the liquid phase. Okay, because mass transfer is taking place in the liquid as well as in the vapor. Same with absorption. Mass transfer is taking place in gas, gas that is entering with pollutant, as well as the liquid solvent that is coming in contact with the gas, which is taking away the solute along with it, right? So we have discussed this in detail in our material balance topic model. Okay, there the mass transfer is taking place in both phases. Whereas in case of humidification, the liquid is pure, which means that there is no resistance for mass transfer to take place within the liquid. So only we are concerned about the mass transfer that is taking place in the gas phase. Okay, and if you look at heat transfer associated with this, in comparison to them, here in this particularly this humidification and dehumidification topics, the heat transfer is also equally important to consider. Okay, so in case of this type of system, particularly if you talk about humidification operations and dehumidification operations, widely they are unit operation. There is no reaction taking place in the system. Okay, so that way we call it as unit operations, humidification and dehumidification operations. So in this we are going to, when you consider this vapor liquid equilibria, particularly this gas vapor system, so there is a limit to which the vapor can be, the water vapor in air, if you consider air water system, how much vapor can be present in a given under closed environment. If you have certain amount of dry air, how much moisture can be present in it, and if it exceeds saturation, what will happen? Dew point, the condensation will take place, right? So that we have discussed in TXY diagram topic also, right? So that way, if you are considering a closed system in which a liquid and vapor are in gas are in contact, so the liquid molecules will be escaping into the dry air. So there will be water vapor present in dry air. Okay, so there is certain limit, certain up to certain time that vapor will be going, and after certain time what will happen? Some of the molecules, that vapors may be going back into the system, right? So this will continue until we have equilibrium, that is the amount of water escaping from the liquid into vapor and the amount of water vapor molecules going back from the gas phase to liquid phase will be in equilibrium. So such state is called equilibrium state. Okay. So what we are going to define in this particular topic is, we are going to define various terms such as what is saturation, okay, what is saturation, what is humidification, what is dehumidification, what is humidity, what is absolute humidity, what is specific humidity, okay, and we are going to define some temperatures like what is dry bulb temperature, what is wet bulb temperature. We are going to define what is specific volume of air, dry air, okay, specific volume mass flow rate, okay, and we are going to talk about what is the enthalpy at different points, okay, so that we are going to define, and what is adiabatic saturation temperature, what is humid heat, what is sensible heat. So all these parameters can be plotted in a single graph. So that chart is called as psychrometric chart. So we can talk about psychrometric chart. That chart is an graphical representation of a particularly, it can be of any gas vapor system. Particularly we are concerned about water vapor dry air system. Okay, so at atmospheric pressure, if there is change in various means we have various parameters like dry bulb temperature, we have wet bulb temperature, we have dew point, we have absolute humidity, we have percentage saturation, we have 100% saturation, we have sensible heat, we have specific volume, we have enthalpy. So all these parameters are plotted. So if you know any two of these parameters, we can solve numericals, or from the making use of this psychrometric chart, we can get the values of the remaining values can be determined if we know any two parameters as I listed out. Okay, so that's what we are going to do in this particular lecture. First we will go through the definitions of each term. We should thoroughly know what is the definition of each terms. So once we are thorough with the definitions, we will proceed to solve the numericals using psychrometric chart. We will see how to plot. First we will see the construction of psychrometric chart. So once we are thorough with how to what each line, whether what is x-axis, what is y-axis, what different lines signify. Okay, so once we know what is each term, what are the different parameters that are present in a psychrometric chart, how to get the values out of it. So we can proceed to solve several numericals, and also in this we can have this these parameters can be determined. Okay, so why we should do all this? Because as I said, this humidification and dehumidification operations are widely used in industries. Okay, in most of the industries, particularly even if it is not industry, even in offices, this refrigeration or air conditioning is important, right? And refrigeration is important in meat industries or several industries where we want to store the foodstuffs particularly. Okay, so that way we have this humidification and dehumidification operations being widely used. So we should be thorough about what are the various terms that are being used in this particular topic, psychrometric chart. Okay, so how to make use of the psychrometric chart to determine the humidification and dehumidification operations, because these various applications, if I have to list a few of the applications of humidification, so first thing that comes to mind is liquid cooling. So when you want to cool the liquid from a higher temperature to lower temperature, so what we can make use of is we can make this liquid to come in contact with some air, so that will reduce the temperature of the liquid. That is one of the applications. So another example is not only liquid cooling, we can even talk about gas cooling. If you want to reduce the temperature of a gas, it can be made to come in contact with liquid water, so the heat can be moved from gas to liquid. Okay, and there is under adiabatic conditions also you can carry out this humidification operation. So humidification operation just represents that addition of moisture to air. So addition of moisture to an inert gas is humidification operation, whereas removal of or reduction of moisture from an saturated air or vapor gas, that is called dehumidification operation. Okay, particularly these dehumidification operations are mainly used in cases where in absorption we are going to make use of solvent will be recovering the solute from the gas mixture, right? So after that, to recover this solvent, if you want to recover the solvent, this dehumidification operation is carried out. So some of the applications of dehumidification are for example, it is about solvent recovery, and particularly if you want to dry the gases, if you want to dry the gases, That means you already there are some moisture present in the gas. You want to make the gas to be a dry one. So that means you have to remove the moisture from it. So that is an example, industrial operation for dehumidification example. Okay, gas drying. And also in refrigeration also, this dehumidification is in the cycle, there is dehumidification taking place. Okay, and also there are cases where we may have to do evaporative cooling. For example, in crystallization we have solved numericals, right? So we have to by evaporating the solvent as well as we can do some cooling also. Such evaporative cooling is also an example for this humidification operations. And particularly if you look at water desalination plants, where in desert countries or in Arab countries, you might have come across that desalination from sea water, we want to produce pure drinking water, right? So in those places also there will be, you have come across this humidification and dehumidification operations being widely used. So that way it is important for us. So this motivates us to learn what is psychrometry. So this is a field of engineering wherein we are concerned about the physical and thermodynamic properties of gas vapor system. Particularly if you look at given example, it is going to be dry air and water vapor system. Okay, so particularly the psychrometric chart is made for, in general we can talk about it is a system consisting of a pure liquid and inert gas, which will not condense in the given liquid. Okay, so such system is what we are concerned about in this humidification operation. Okay, as I would like to recall, in this case there is no resistance to mass transfer in case of liquid because it is pure, but whereas the mass transfer is entirely based upon how it is behaving in the gas phase alone. So this is opposite to what is the case with distillation and absorption, where there will be resistance for mass transfer in the gas phase as well as in the liquid phase. So what is mass transfer? Again we are going to do a separate course, mass transfer, in the next semester, where we will learn in detail about what is mass transfer, what are the principles, mechanisms that are taking place in it, and what are the phenomenological laws that they are governing the mass transfer. Okay, in general I can tell you right now what is, I have told you earlier also, in general in chemical engineering we have different flux. Any flux can be given as the ratio of driving force to resistance. So if I am talking about fluid mechanics, it's about the shear stress is proportional to velocity gradient. So we can introduce a proportionality constant, right? That law is called Newton's law of viscosity. So that is one of the phenomenological law which is also representing the transport flux, one of the transport flux, which is momentum flux. Okay, we can call it as momentum flux, and we define a term called momentum diffusivity also there. Okay, so that way we have a driving force. What is the driving force? Velocity gradient, right? And we have resistances which will consist of, other than the driving force term, other than the velocity gradient, so other terms can be grouped into in the denominator to say what is the resistance. Similarly in the heat transfer course, for heat flux we are going to have temperature difference as the driving force, and we are going to introduce proportionality constant, distance, all that, thermal conductivity, all that coming into picture. So all those remaining terms other than the delta T can be grouped in the denominator to call, that is the resistance to heat transfer. Similarly, if you talk about the mass transfer, this mass flux is proportional to the concentration difference. The driving force for mass transfer is concentration difference. What does it mean? The mass will travel from, will be transported from higher concentration area to lower concentration area. That is from higher concentration region to lower concentration region, mass transfer is going to take place. What is the resistance to mass transfer? Again we can introduce a proportionality constant, and denominator can be the distance it has to travel. So the terms rest to this concentration driving force can be clubbed and put in the denominator to call it as resistance. So in general, transport flux is equal to driving force by resistance. So even in whatever I talked about this mass transfer, that is resistances. So here we are talking that one. In this concern, we are taking that in liquid there is no resistance to mass transfer. There is going to be resistance within the gas phase. That is, whatever is the resistance present, that determines the rate of mass transfer. That's what I am trying to convey. Okay, let us get into the lecture.
The learning objectives of this lecture are: learners will be able to explain the following terms like what is saturation for a air water mixture, You will be able to define the terms such as what is humidification, dehumidification, humidity, percentage humidity, relative percentage humidity, wet bulb temperature, dry bulb temperature, dew point, adiabatic saturation temperature, saturated volume and humid heat and sensible heat. And also learners will be able to construct a psychometric chart. Also learners will be able to solve numerical using psychometric chart. So these are the learning objectives of this particular lecture. Okay. So I have told you that our humidification has significance because it finds application in liquid cooling, gas cooling, adiabatic humidification, and dehumidification, evaporative cooling, and water desalination. Okay, first let us start with what is saturation. Saturation, we have to define what is saturation as it applies to a mixture of air and water. Okay, so let us consider a liquid, say water, and a gas, say air, in a closed container. So let us have a liquid and air system, particularly water air system in a closed container. So we are having a closed container. Okay, as the vapor in the gas, actually what will happen, the molecules of air, this water will try to escape into this vapor. Say for example, if you are heating it, what will happen? So the molecules will try to go into this air. Okay, so as we increase the temperature of the liquid, some of the molecules will try to escape from this liquid phase and gets into the gas. That means it will become water vapor and they are present in the gas. Okay, but what will happen as we keep increasing, the partial pressure of the vapor in the gas increases. Okay, so the number of molecules present in zone will keep increasing. But there will be a stage will be reached that at that moment the number of maximum amount of vapor has been reached. The maximum amount of vapor that this gas or air can hold has been reached means beyond that whatever is being added, that will be condensed or returned back into the liquid. Okay, that means it has reached a maximum pressure. We can say that that is the partial pressure which is equivalent to vapor pressure. At this particular temperature T, the partial pressure of the vapor in the gas phase is equal to the vapor pressure of this one, vapor pressure of the vapor pressure of the liquid. Okay, so at this given temperature, so what will happen, even though you further change the temperature, this partial pressure will not increase further because already it has saturated, it has reached the vapor pressure. Okay, so that way beyond which there won't be any change in the partial pressure until unless we change the temperature of the system. Okay, so this state is called as saturation. Okay, so if gas is unsaturated, it means that the partial pressure of the vapor is less than the vapor pressure of the liquid. Okay, so when we get saturation, we say the air is saturated with liquid vapors when the partial pressure of the vapor is equal to the vapor pressure of the liquid. Okay. So we have a state where it has reached a maximum number of molecules it has taken, beyond which there won't be change in the partial pressure. Okay. So what are the conditions? So when it is dry air, that is when there is no vapor present in the air, in that case what is the partial pressure of vapor? There is no vapor, right? So partial pressure is mole fraction into total pressure. So mole fraction is 0. So partial pressure is 0. And what is the relative humidity in this dry air? It is totally a dry air. There is no relative humidity. So we can say that relative humidity is 0 because there is no moisture present in it. Humidity we have to define. Okay, so humidity is the amount of water vapor per amount of, or you can say per kg of dry air. So there is no water vapor at all. Therefore, relative humidity is going to be 0. And there is no water vapor, mole fraction is 0, therefore partial pressure is also 0. So that is one condition. But once we start, that is once the liquid molecules get vaporized and enter into the gas phase, so we have a partial pressure, but the partial pressure is not equal to the vapor pressure of the liquid. So partial pressure is less than the vapor pressure, and similarly this relative humidity is will not be equal to 100%. Okay, so the humidity present in this one is not going to be its maximum humidity, but whereas when we say it is a saturated air, two conditions prevails. Okay, one is that partial pressure is equal to vapor pressure of the liquid, and relative humidity is maximum, it is 100% saturated. Okay, that way relative humidity is 100%. Okay, so what will happen during this condition? So in this, during this phase, only evaporation takes place because there is no vapor present in the gas, so there is no condensation possible, right? Whereas in this case, since already some vapors are there, there is possibility of condensation, but actually there will be more evaporation and less condensation. But whereas at saturation conditions, the rate of evaporation will be equal to rate of condensation because they are in equilibrium. Okay, so I repeat, so here only evaporation takes place and no condensation takes place. But if it is moist air and already some vapors are present, some of them may be coming back, may be condensed. Okay, there will be less condensation, but there will be more evaporation. Similarly, here at saturated condition, the rate of evaporation will be equal to rate of condensation. Okay, let us say that we have I told you that this is a closed system, right? So that way we have gas, and in which we have vapor which is being saturated. Okay, that air is saturated with vapor. Let us say, what would happen if you took off the cover and added some more water vapor directly into the glass, into the container? You have already vapor saturated, right? And you open the seal, open the cover and add some more water vapor into it, and again close it. What will happen? Here the air is already saturated and further water vapor is added. So that means what? Will it be in equilibrium? There is a question here. Will the system be in equilibrium or not in equilibrium? If not, which one will be more? Whether evaporation will be more or condensation will be more? Yes? Try to answer this. So we can say that, would it happen if you took off the cover and added some more water vapor to the cabin? Okay, yes, air is super saturated. We can say that relative humidity is greater than 100 in this case. But is it a system in equilibrium? No, the system is not in equilibrium because now more condensation will take place. Equilibrium means we should have rate of evaporation equal to rate of condensation. But even since more vapor exceeding the saturation limit of 100% is there, so there will be more condensation and less evaporation. So this the system which is not in equilibrium because of addition of extra vapor in the gas phase will continue to have more condensation than the evaporation till it reaches the equilibrium condition. Okay, so the more condensation will occur till it becomes equilibrium. That is the rate of evaporation equals to rate of condensation. Okay, so this increased amount of water vapor would increase the rate of condensation. There would be more condensation than the evaporation. So the water vapor concentration would begin to decrease. The vapor concentration, that is your partial pressure. You can say that already it is in saturation pressure, right? Saturated vapor, you can say vapor pressure. Eventually the gas would return to the equilibrium state where we have partial pressure equal to vapor pressure. Okay. So let us solve this problem. A simple one to understand what we have understood. So if you look at nitrogen saturated with acetone, it is given that the vapor pressure of acetone at 280 Kelvin is 13.25 kilopascal. For a mixture of nitrogen gas saturated with the vapors of acetone at 280 Kelvin and 105 kilopascal, calculate the following. A. Mole percentage of acetone in the mixture. B. The percentage of composition by weight. see the amount of vapor in kg per meter cube of the mixture. Okay, so what is given? Vapor pressure at this particular temperature and pressure is given. We have a mixture which contains nitrogen gas saturated with vapors of acetone. Instead of water vapor, here we are having acetone vapor. Nitrogen gas is here just like your dry air, similar to that. Okay, so we have a temperature and pressure where vapor partial pressure is equal to vapor pressure because nitrogen gas is saturated. So if you want to get the mole percentage of acetone, we can say what is that? Partial pressure by total pressure. Partial pressure is equal to vapor pressure at saturation condition. So you can get mole percentage by writing partial pressure. I'll move to the next slide, I think. Okay, so it is given that gas is saturated. Your saturation vapor pressure is given 13.25 kilopascal. And since gas is saturated, we can say partial pressure is equal to vapor pressure. So you can write mole fraction is equal to partial pressure by total pressure. So in place of partial pressure, we can write vapor pressure because at when gas is saturated, partial pressure is equal to vapor pressure. So vapor pressure is 13.25 and the total pressure is given 105 kilopascal. So you can substitute to get the value. Okay. You can say this is equal to your vapor pressure is 13.25 divided by total pressure is 105. How much you get? 13.25 divided by 105 is equal to 0.1262. 0.1262 is our mole fraction, but mole percentage is asked. The first question is what is mole percentage of acetone? Mole percentage of acetone is asked. Okay, so you can multiply by 100 to write the answer. Okay, so mole percentage is equal to 100 into mole fraction. Okay, so we have 100 into 0.1262 is equal to 12.62 percentage. So that is the answer for first case. Second case is determine the weight percentage of the composition. Percent of composition by weight. Okay, so what we have is, so it is a two component system, A and B. Okay, if A mole fraction is given 0.1262, how much is B? Because total should be summation of mole fraction should be equal to 1. Therefore, the mole fraction of B is equal to 1 minus 0.1262, which is equal to 0.8738. Okay, summation is equal to 1. Therefore, 1 minus 0.1262, we get nitrogen mole fraction. So what we get is mole fractions, and we know the molecular weights. Okay, molecular weight of nitrogen and acetone are, nitrogen we know 14 into 2, 28. For acetone, CH3COCH3, you can calculate and determine the molecular weight. It will turn out to be 58. Okay. Well, 3 sir. There are 3 C's. 12 into 3 plus 16 plus 6, 58. Okay. So molecular weight is 58 kg per kg mole. So we can write the molecular weight of acetone and molecular weight of nitrogen. And if you multiply mole fraction by molecular weight, so you get the kg. Okay. So this much kg. So total kg you can determine. So amount of acetone, that is the amount of vapor. That is the this is the amount of vapor and this is the amount of nitrogen. So total sum you can make. Okay, which will turn out to be 31.78 kg, and you can get the weight percentage. 100 times 7.32 divided by 31.78 gives us the acetone weight percentage. Similarly, 24.4 divided by 31.78 into 100 gives us the weight percentage of nitrogen. So that is the answer for B part. Okay. First part answer is 12.62 percentage. Okay. Now there is third part, which is amount of vapor in kg per meter cube of mixture. So if you know amount, kg of vapor we know, kg of acetone vapor we have calculated. But what is the volume of the mixture at this condition? We should convert the given data to volume. Okay, so we know that standard conditions. Okay, the STP conditions, P1 V1 by T1 is equal to P2 V2 by T2. So with using this formula, we can find out the volume. This is at standard condition. You know what is temperature, pressure and volume at standard conditions. Using that, we can determine the value. Okay. So how to make use of that? So using that, you know that PV by assuming ideal gas law is applicable. Assuming ideal gas law is applicable. So the standard conditions are P1 equal to 101.325 kilopascal, T1 equal to 273 Kelvin, and V1 is 22.414 meter cube. So we have our operating conditions are 105 kilopascal and 280 Kelvin. What is the corresponding volume? We can calculate. So we have already what is the mass of acetone. We know mass of acetone vapor divided by this V2. What will be the unit? This is kg. This is going to be meter cube. So we will get this much kg per meter cube. Okay. So we can calculate and write the answer for third part. Okay. So please calculate and comment your answer. Now getting into humidification and dehumidification. What is humidification and dehumidification? I have explained a while ago. Okay, so in this operation, essentially water is transferred from liquid phase to vapor phase, or you can say gas phase. Okay, the liquid vapor is entering into the gas. Okay, so actually the moisture content, what happens to the moisture content of the air? The moisture content of the air increases when we are performing humidification operation. Okay, so actually why we should do this? Air with a particular moisture content is useful for drying of a solid under controlled conditions. Okay, if you want to dry some of the solids under a controlled condition, the entering air which should have a fixed moisture content. Okay, so that way we have to do this humidification. Okay. So these are some of the applications of humidifier. You can say that in household applications we have seen this kind of humidifier being present in a controlled room atmosphere conditioning. We can do humidify if it is dry condition. Okay, and in fuel cells the raw materials are being humidifier is sent to humidifier. Okay, and you can see that industrially how the humidification is being done. You have the water sprayers are there, packed materials will be there. So we have humidifier, whatever gas is there. Okay, so we do this thing, pure water distillation is obtained. So this is what a desalination plant, how it works. Okay, so this humidification is used in desalination plant to get pure water. Okay, and cooling water is a very popular example for humidification, and particularly in our master answer course we are going to study about these cooling towers, where we will make use of whatever concepts we are learning in this particular course, chemical process calculations. Okay, the psychometric chart or the humidification, absolute humidity, whatever we are defining and we are determining from the psychometric charts, we are going to make use of them in the designing of cooling towers, design parameters for cooling towers in master answer course. Okay. So, and what is dehumidification? Essentially, dehumidification, as the name indicates, it is the reverse process of humidification. In humidification, from liquid, the vapors are added into the moisture is added to the air. In dehumidification, the moisture will be removed from the air. Okay, the moisture from the air is removed. It is dehumidification. There are various applications in which dehumidifications are preferred. As I said, acetone solvent recovery. Okay, in solvent recovery, refrigeration and all, this dehumidification is being carried out. Okay. And we are going to define some of the terms now. What is mixing ratio? So there are certain textbooks where this word is used in place of humidity. Okay. There is slight difference between mixing ratio and humidity. We will see what is that. What is mixing ratio? This is an indicator. Okay, mixing ratio tells us how much water vapor is actually in the air. Mixing ratio tells us how much water vapor is actually in the air. And this mixing ratio has the units of grams of water vapor per kilograms of dry air. That is the amount of water vapor in grams mixed with a kilogram of dry air. It is basically same idea as teaspoons of sugar mixed in a cup of tea. Okay, so for example, if we say it's a gram of water vapor, it's like how we add sugar to a cup of tea. Once it enters, we want to know quantifying it, right? Mixing ratio, what ratio this sugar is mixed with the tea. Like that, how much moisture is added to the air, dry air. Per kg of dry air, how many grams of water vapor is added is called as mixing ratio. Remember, this value of the mixing ratio will not change unless we add water vapor to or remove the water vapor from the air. Okay, because already you had, say for example, here there are 4, let me say 4 cubes of water is there. Let me say 4 grams. 4 grams is added. Okay, so this amount is not going to change regardless of. Okay, this 4 grams will not change regardless of how much is the water present. Amount of sugar present is 4 gram. That is fixed, right? Same way, its mixing ratio will not change unless we add water vapor or remove water vapor from the air. Okay, so there is another term called what is saturation mixing ratio. It is just an upper limit to how much water vapor can be found in the air. This is the maximum capacity of the air to hold water vapor. That way we can define this saturation mixing ratio. And it is going to be the property of the air because it doesn't tell us about how much water vapor is actually present in the air. Okay, so that is the role of mixing ratios in the job. But saturation mixing ratio will tell us what is its maximum capacity. What is the upper limit? That's all it can tell. But what is actually present, it won't tell. Right? That is told by mixing ratio. Okay, so and similarly, when you have two temperature, let me say same water, let me say air is present in a closed container and temperature is something like 100 and I have 200 degrees Celsius. So we have two different temperatures and one is warm. Okay, it is warmer than this temperature. Okay, let me say this is cold air. Let me say, so that way one is warmer than another one. So which one has the potential to hold more water vapor? Yes. So the higher the temperature, higher will be the vapor present in the air. So that we should know. Okay. And these terms are similar to our definition of absolute humidity. Okay. So this absolute humidity, you can say that capital Y sometimes or H, capital H. This capital H is sometimes confused with enthalpy. That's why if we write capital H, it is absolute humidity. If I write small h, it is enthalpy. Okay, so capital H is used to denote absolute humidity, or some textbook uses capital Y. Okay, so this is the amount kg of water vapor per kg of dry air. You can say that it is similar to mixing ratio. In mixing ratio, we can say that it is similar to mixing ratio. In mixing ratio, it is written in terms of grams of water vapor per kg of dry air, whereas in absolute humidity, when we say like that, here we say kg per kg. So if it is gram per kg, it is mixing ratio. Otherwise, if it is say absolute humidity is kg of water vapor per kg of dry air. Okay, then again similar to saturation mixing ratio and saturation mixing ratio. Here also we have saturation humidity. So we can say that Hs or Ys, which is again kg of water vapor per kg of dry air at 100% saturation. It is about any condition and this is about at 100% saturation condition. And what if you want to express this ratio of kg of water vapor per kg of dry air in terms of moles? Okay, if you want to express it in terms of moles, so for example, we have defined just now. We have defined absolute humidity as kg of water vapor per kg of dry air, right? So we can define molal or molar humidity as gram moles. That is the same thing. You can say kg moles of water per kg moles of dry air. Okay. So kg moles of water plus kg moles of dry air is molar humidity. Okay, HM I can say, or YM. Okay. YM or HM. This absolute humidity is H or Y. So can we relate these two? Yes, because using molecular weight, for example, this is your molar humidity. If I multiply by its molecular weight of water, what is that? 18 kg per kg mole, divided by air, if you consider 28.8 or 29 kg per kg mole. Okay, so what will happen? This kg mole gets cancelled. So what you get is kg of. So we can say that this equal to Ym into 18 by 29, which is equal to Y. So we can say the relationship between molar humidity and absolute humidity. So this absolute humidity is equal to molar humidity into molecular weight of water by molecular weight of air. 18 by 28.8. Okay, you can say 29. So this is the relationship. What is this value? 18 by 29. 18 by 29 is almost equal to 0.62. So 0.62 Ym. Y equal to 0.62 Ym is the relationship between absolute humidity and molar humidity. Okay. So we can define the other terms such as saturation humidity, what is saturation humidity? Oh, yes. Okay, same definition only. Absolute humidity at saturation. Absolute humidity at saturation. Okay, that is saturation means 100% relative humidity. And define RH also. Okay. So what is percentage humidity? That is another term called percentage humidity. Percentage humidity is P, YP, which is we have absolute humidity Y and we have saturation humidity YS. The ratio is called percentage humidity. So you can say Y by YS, which is absolute humidity by saturation humidity. Saturation humidity. Okay. Now we have another term called relative humidity. What is relative humidity? is Y R for relative. So relative humidity, it is the percentage ratio of partial pressure of the vapor to equilibrium vapor pressure at given temperature. Relative humidity is the OR, is the ratio of percentage ratio means you have to multiply by 100. It is the percentage ratio of partial pressure of vapor, what is water vapor, to the equilibrium vapor pressure at given temperature. So you can say that actually, as I said, this vapor pressure can be written as capital PV or PA0 or PAS, whatever it is vapor pressure of the liquid. What is the liquid? It is A. Okay. Whereas small PA, capital PV also we can write, right? So what is partial pressure? That is written only in one way. Partial pressure is equal to small p A. Okay, not capital P. Capital P is total pressure. Okay, so by this time you know what is the terms. Okay, total pressure is capital P, partial pressure is small pa. It is written capital P with the small subscript V, it is vapor pressure, or we can write with the PA0 or PAS, whatever is the superscript. Okay, whatever is the superscript, we can denote vapor pressure. So PV by PV, capital PV, or I can say if I write with the PA, no, I can say PA0. If we skip PA, it is binary mixture. Okay, for binary mixture, we can skip it. Okay. So this is called relative humidity. Okay. There is another term called as humid volume. Humid volume. So capital V subscript Y, humidity volume. Okay. So what is this? This is the meter cube volume occupied by the kg of dry air. This is the volume occupied by per kg of dry air. So we can say that actually the volume occupied considers whatever it's accompanying moisture also. We can say moist air. So what we can say, this is the volume occupied by moist air. It's not dry air. Volume occupied by moist air per kg of dry air. What is that? So that is in the numerator, it is going to be volume occupied by the kg of dry air plus associated moisture in it. When you say moist air, what does it mean? It is one volume occupied by, I can write in other terms, is the volume occupied by 1 kg of dry air and its moisture and accompanying moisture at dry bulb temperature. We'll see what is dry bulb temperature. At dry bulb temperature and atmospheric pressure. Okay, so this is humid volume. We have defined already what is saturation, right? Okay, what is relative saturation? So relative saturation by R is equal to PV by capital PV into 100. That's what we have seen, right? Relative saturation. Okay. So we know, you should know that partial pressure is equal to mole fraction into total pressure. Partial pressure of say where it is. We consider a closed system. We have liquid and we have gas. So this is partial pressure. This is mole fraction and partial pressure. This is total pressure. Okay. What is percentage saturation? Percentage saturation. Percentage saturation. Percentage ratio of existing molecules of A, that is the percentage ratio of, that means multiplied by 100. Number of moles of A per number of moles of vapor free gas to the number of moles of vapor that would be present per mole of vapor free gas if the mixture is saturated at given temperature. Okay, let me say NS. Okay, so actual number of moles divided by number of moles at the saturation into 100 is called percentage saturation. Actual moles, it is like imaginary thing. Okay, if it is saturated, what would be the number of moles? Okay, it's number of actual moles divided by number of moles at saturation. Okay, so Na by, let Ns be the number of moles that would be present if the air is saturated at the given temperature and pressure, and Na is the number of actual moles that is present. Okay, and number of moles is proportional to partial pressure, right? So you can write number of moles is equal to, let's say, PV by total pressure minus PV into 100. So PV is similar to partial pressure of A. Okay, here we are denoting with P, small PV. When I say capital PV, it is vapor pressure. The difference we should be able to distinguish. Okay. Next, dew point will define. Dew point. What is dew point? So in a closed system, when you have liquid and vapor is present in the gas, okay, when this unsaturated gas mixture is cooled at a constant pressure, this partial pressure will remain the same. Partial pressure will remain the same, but the temperature of the mixture will fall till a temperature at which equilibrium vapor pressure of pure liquid is equal to the existing partial pressure. Any further cooling will result in condensation. So this point is called as dew point temperature. Okay. That is, after this temperature, if you cool further, condensation will begin. That's the first, we can say that first drop of condensate is formed is called, the temperature at which first drop of condensate is formed is called dew point. I think the same is explained in TXY diagram also, right? In TXY diagram also, we have this being defined, dew point temperature. Okay. And we should know that at dew point, what happens is equilibrium vapor pressure is equal to partial pressure of vapor in gas mixture. Okay. At dew point, equilibrium vapor pressure is equal to partial pressure of vapor in gas mixture. Okay. Now, can we show that percentage saturation is always smaller than the relative saturation? How to show that? take down, show that percentage saturation is always smaller than relative saturation. That is, percentage saturation means YP is always smaller than YS. How to show that? Or it can be asked as express YP as a function of YR. Okay. Saturations. YR. So we have to show that YP as a function of YR. What is the relationship between YP and YR? Okay, how to start that? We know that number of moles of vapor at actual number of moles of vapor is equal to number of moles is equal to partial pressure. Today, what would be the number of moles that would be present? That is P minus PV is the number of moles. And what would be the number of moles that would be present at saturation? We know that at that time partial pressure is equal to vapor pressure, capital PV. So we can write P minus capital PV. So what is that again? Small PV is partial pressure, capital P subscript V is vapor pressure. This some textbook use it. Okay, otherwise as I said, if I am writing A, I will write PA and I will write PA naught. Parallelly, we should know all the way how to write a partial pressure and vapor pressure. Okay. Now NV by NS is nothing but NV by NS into 100 is your YP, that is percentage saturation, right? This YP can be defined as N subscript V by N subscript S into 100. So we can write equal to, this can be written here, right? So we can write PV by E minus PV into E minus PV by PV. Okay. So what we can do is we can rewrite this like this is equal to this PV by capital PV into P minus PV by P minus PV. Okay, so this is nothing but what is this PV by PV? This is your relative humidity. Okay, or you can say relative saturation, and this is your percentage saturation. So percentage saturation is equal to relative saturation into this ratio. Okay, so this is some value E minus PV by E minus PV. Okay, so this shows that YP is always less than YR because this is less than 1. This value is going to be less than 1. Hence, this YP is always less than YR. That is, percentage saturation is always smaller than the relative saturation. Okay. What is humid heat? It is the heat capacity of 1 kg of dry air and accompanying moisture in it. What is that? Heat capacity of 1 kg of dry air and the moisture associated with it is called as humid heat. So we can use this formula to determine humid heat. Cp is equal to 0.24 plus 0.45 into Y, where Y is the absolute humidity. So the Cp shall have the unit of kilocalorie per kg air degree Celsius. Kg of dry air per degree Celsius. Okay, you can say that it is in other unit also it can be written in terms of kilojoule. It is going to be 1 plus 1.84 into can be equal to 1 plus 1.84 into Y if Cp is in the unit of kilojoule per kg dry air degrees Kelvin. Okay, so these two formulas you can make use. If you want Cp in this unit or if you want Cp in this unit. Okay, we can make use of Cp equal to 0.24 plus 0.45 into absolute humidity is the humid heat in kilocalorie per kg dry air degree Celsius, or you can say 1 plus 1.84 into Y kilojoule per kg air dry air Kelvin. Okay, so that is the definition of humid heat. Well, we have seen what is percentage humidity and what is relative saturation. So we have seen the relationship between percentage saturation and relative saturation, how they are interconnected. So we can solve this numerical to understand that better. A mixture of ether vapor and nitrogen contains 50% ether by volume. Calculate the relative saturation and percentage saturation of the mixture at 295 Kelvin and a pressure of 750 mm mercury, small mm. Okay. Vapor pressure of ether at 295 Kelvin is 440 mm mercury. This is also small mm. So how to solve this problem? So we have a mixture where A is ether, where A is ether vapor and B is nitrogen. Okay, so volume percentage is given. So we know that volume percent equal to mole percent. Okay, so it is given 0.5 in terms of fraction. Okay, so mole fraction is equal to 0.5. Other conditions given are temperature is 295 Kelvin, pressure is given 750 mm mercury, and vapor pressure is given capital PV. Okay, is given 440 mm mercury. So these are the data available with us. So if mole fraction is known, total pressure is known, we can get partial pressure, right? So we can get partial pressure value. So we can get partial pressure value. This calculation we can do. Partial pressure is equal to mole fraction into total pressure 0.5 into 750 mm mercury, which is equal to 375 mm mercury is the partial pressure of A. A is ether vapor. Okay, then vapor pressure, this is partial pressure, small p v. Capital PV is given 440, right? So PV by PV into 100, that is small PV by capital PV into 100 is nothing but relative saturation. Okay, and say relative saturation is this much, that is 375 divided by 440 into 100. Into 100 equal to 85.23 percentage. So this is our relative saturation. Okay. Similarly, what is percentage saturation? Percentage saturation is simple. We know that it is given by number of moles of A. Number of moles of A by number of moles of B. Number of moles of A is mole fraction. If we say in 1 mole total, 0.5 is this, 0.5 is this, so which is equal to 1. But what would be the ratio at saturation? This is Na by Nb actual. This is Na by Nb actual. At saturation, what would be the value? Okay. Na by Nb at saturation is equal to partial pressure by vapor pressure, that is 440 by 375, which is 1.419. Okay, so this is Na by Nb at saturation. If we take a ratio of this divided by this, we will get the percentage saturation. Percentage saturation is equal to Na by Nb divided by Na by Nb at S. This is 1 divided by 1.419 is equal to into 100 percentage. No? So you will get 70.45 percentage. So that is a percentage saturation. Otherwise, how to get it in other ways? So already we have calculated. So other way to calculate is we have Yp is equal to Yr into P minus Pb by P minus Pb. Already we calculated first one to be 85.23 percentage into total pressure is 750, vapor pressure is 440, partial pressure is 375, so you will get around 70.46 percentage. Okay, so you can see that both values are almost same. And here we verify that percentage saturation is 70%, relative saturation is 85%. Okay, so we have percentage saturation is always less than the relative saturation. That is verified. Okay.
In this lecture, we have seen the basic definitions that are terminologies that are involved in the operation of humidification. We have seen what is air water system, what is saturation, what is dry bulb temperature, what is wet bulb temperature. We have seen what is saturation, percentage saturation, relative humidity. So we have seen the basic definition of all these terms, and in the next lecture we are going to discuss about how to determine these terminologies involved in humidification by making use of psychometric chart, which is also called as humidity chart. So by making use of the psychometric chart or humidity chart, if two parameters are known, how we can determine the rest of the parameters, so that we will learn. Before that, we will be learning how to construct a psychometric chart in the next lecture. So we will first learn how to construct a psychometric chart, then we will solve some numericals using psychometric chart. Okay, so that will be the agenda for the next lecture. Thank you so much for joining my classroom. If you have any doubts, please comment or contact me. Thank you so much.